what's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good?
That's that, but let's get to these questions. I know the earners are excited tonight. We have Ryan Keppel up first. Unmute yourself, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it feels so good to be on the show. Thanks for having me. How y'all doing today?
Good, thank you, man. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Side note, we actually met at the Detroit networking event last year. I got you guys on my YouTube channel. How's my right?
Sloppy Crab.
Shout out to Detroit. Shout out to Ken.
Yeah, shout
out to all of the guys in Detroit. Chill. Detroit, one of my favorite places, man. Every time we go to Detroit, it's nothing but love. So
we shall be back.
Oh yeah, of course.
Very shortly.
Of course.
You guys are everywhere.
Right. Yeah, it was a good vibe for sure.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
So my question is, I lost $15,000 trading options from November 2021 until now. I'm wondering how I can restart in this current market with $500.
Who want to go first? Because I'm gonna come with the doom and gloom. So.
Oh no.
What? All right, you lost 15,000. Was it on multiple different trades? What was the?
Yeah, what we do short term and all?
Short term options, long term options. You were shorting. Were you long? What was the deal?
I bought Microsoft. Okay, so I used the Thinkorswim platform, and I meant to purchase one contract, but it would automatically set me to 10. So, I believed in my trade. I bought it November 19th, and it was a 360 call at like 5:45, and like as the market fell, I dollar cost averaged down and kept investing and was just holding on to a losing trade
in November.
Yeah.
So say the number of the call again. 5.
No, it's 360. 360 call.
360 call. Okay.
Yep. I had a January 21st expiration date. It was a 360 call. My first 10 contracts I purchased was at 5:45, and I dollar cost average down, but the stock price never came. It never returned. So Mark Cuban said this before. He said, "Pigs get bears get fed, bulls get fed, and hogs get slaughtered." So I was that dumb money, and I got smoked. And I had a few other trades, but I think mostly, it came. I was taking most of that hit from that Microsoft call, and I had a few things I could probably email my transactions. But
yeah. All right. Well, let me come in with grace and help. So especially with Thinkorswim, you change your default setting to 1, because sometimes even if you just put in one contract, and for those of you who buy long term, if you don't hit enter after, it's going to move you to the default. Same thing on NinjaTrader. Like if you're trading futures, you maybe have a default of 15 or 20. Please be careful there. Number 2, for those of you that are trading, I would beg you every week on the show, call and ask for prices when to get in. Number 3, I got to ask you, did you paper trade before you began taking these trades? And then I'll give you a answer at the end for what to do on how to make it back. But did you paper trade at all?
Not before. No, not immediately. No, but afterwards, I learned how that thing feels different when you start losing that money. So it was good.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than driving a car. Learning how to drive a semi. Like I know we want to just hop in. And I know a lot of times it felt like when everybody was like, yo, you trade options, you can make 72,000%. And then all those people want to right. You want to at least take 50 practice trades to get familiar with the platform, get your strategy down, know what the risk to reward. Now, if you're starting over with $500, I will put that in long term, but I would practice trading until you get your win percentage up to 70 to 80%, and then I can show you how to get funding for trading after that. But I will say, I commend you for taking action and not being afraid, and not just sitting on the sideline. So I do have to give you credit for that. But I do want you guys to practice, because when you're using leverage, the job of the broker is to take your money, and if you don't have an informational edge on the thing about futures and options, when you're trading against everybody in the world. That's great. Day one. So imagine like this your first day at 3 years old playing basketball, and first game you going against KD, second game LeBron.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to have an edge. So number one, practice. Number two, make sure you have your strategy down, but make sure that you're practicing in your trades to get back on the saddle, so you get prepared for your next trade. And most importantly, you guys use me for prices. You don't have you don't make more money if you figure it out on your own. I'd rather just tell you, hey, buy here, get out at this time, list the price, and you profit opposed to going through these cycles of losing. So that's why I tell people 80% of the time, put the money in long term. You'll be good. But I'm proud of you nonetheless.
Yeah, I appreciate the honesty, Ryan. And I think it's going to make you a better investor. Because number one, like most people, and they lose that type of money, they're like, I lost it, I'm never going back. And you're like, wait, I'm going to go back in, but I'm going back in with 5. Like, I'm just starting over, which says a lot about, your mindset, right? Like, you didn't give up on this, but you're going to learn a lot from this, right? Like, hey, like Ian just said, you're going to set the limit at 1. You might look at it and say, you know what? I've done 3 months on my options. Let me go out. Let me have my leaps out a little further, right? So that I can have more time to on the contract itself. So there's a lot to be learned, but the most important part is that you didn't give up. Right. And you could have easily. And so I encourage you to keep going. And then look at the prices, right? So when you got it in November, it was over at 300. It was almost at its all-time high.
Yep.
And so to say that, all right, it's at 349, I'm gonna do a 360 call. Now you're like, hey, this has to go up by another 10 to 15% when it's already at its all-time high. It's one of those things that like Shotty likes to do, is to be close to the money. But I mean, we couldn't predict the pullback, but we can kind of sense that something was going to be coming. Well, Ian did say a pullback was coming. So even that, like learning, like, all right, well, let's see where the actual asset is right now. Where's its all-time high? Where's the low? Where's the support? Where's the resistance? All these things, like, it's a tough lesson to learn, but hopefully you learn it, because the next time you invest, you're going to have that in the toolbox and say, all right, well, I'm prepared. I've been through here. And it's tough, right? Like, I always tell it to people, like when they have stories like this, I'm like, you have to go through some things so you can learn. Like, I well documented, lost money in DraftKings, but I learned so much from
Never
it.
make
Like,
the mistake again.
I had to, like, it was almost like, wow, I'm glad I did, because, oh wait, I learned so much from that experience. And so hopefully this is what's going to happen for you, and it's going to turn out in the long run. And I'm sure it will if you're going to be investing long term. There's going to be a lot more brighter days.
Yeah, the crazy part when you have these losses, I've said it before, it feels like God downloads everything that you should have done into your brain. And I'll say this too, like, this is not egotistical, but I'm begging you guys, like, if you're watching the show and if I've made you money, let me help you on the trading part too, because there's a lot of people that are talking about technical and then we're bleeding past levels. Like, okay, put yes in chat when I said Bitcoin 20,000 at 55. You like, Ian lost his shit. He was good in 2020. And now we can't crack 20. Like, if people were not talking about this prior to 2020 and they was working at Shake Shack 2019, how did they become an expert in 2 years on it? Everybody who talk about it not equal. I'm saying that, and I'm not moving off that post.
And Ryan, here's the beautiful thing, right? Since you're on this side, you're on a Zoom call. We have classes every Monday, every Tuesday. So shout out to Chris. That's a perfect place for beginners and for people who have some experience to even learn more. Like, I'm in there. I know my brother, a lot of people are in that class learning. So that's definitely a place you should, and definitely a resource you should use to your advantage.
And we have several videos on YouTube about options. But ultimately, I think that, you never want to risk too much of your portfolio, especially when you start with options, because, it does give you a lot of leverage and you can make a lot of money, but it is extremely volatile and a lot of things are out of your control and you can lose a lot of money also. So just keep that in mind. I know that was a mistake, but you wanted to get one contract and you got 10. Yeah. But, you probably don't want to risk more than 10% of your portfolio on options. One. And two, like all things, the more you do it, the more you feel comfortable and the better as you get. So even if you start out with something, you don't always have to swing for the fences. Like, you can start out with an option trade for a couple $100 and just to kind of get your feet wet, just to kind of, figure it out, learn. And if you lose a couple $100, it's not going to, kill you. So just different things of that nature. And that's just for anybody in general that just wants to get into trading, option trading. Like, start with something that you can afford to lose. Start small, learn, continuously, up your education, continuously learn. And, the more you do it, the more you'll feel comfortable, the better that you'll get. But you don't want to go into it just swinging for the fences, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to swing out. You're going to strike out. It's like, going to the major leagues. If you never played a game ever, and then you just swinging at 90 mile per hour fastballs,
it's going to be tough.
You probably going to end up striking out. So
this is a question for every trader. As soon as you take a trade, ask yourself, what information do I have that Michael Burry, Kathy Wood, Warren Buffett, Einhorn, Tepper does not have that will allow me to beat them? If you don't have a clear answer in one sentence, don't take the trade. Because you're competing against all the best people on earth day one. Like follow that, because it's really about who has the best information. And that's why I'd be so big on, and I love Michael. I think Michael Saylor is like one of the most innovative people to use this strategy. But look how they ran his fund down, and they're going to clear like 2 or 3 more hedge funds out, and then Bitcoin will be back at 35,000. A lot of times, like when you're buying, you have to say, is this the price that's absolute at the bottom where I won't bleed out? Because a lot of times they just got Bitcoin down low enough to knock him out of the market. Now, what do Michael and Kathy do? They brought validity to Bitcoin, but don't get any of the benefit for being advocates of Bitcoin. It's going to be Bank of America and BlackRock and Vanguard and Citadel. And in 10 years, you guys will look back at this and be like, damn, Ian was saying all this crazy stuff. And now there won't be anybody major in crypto that is leading the charge on Bitcoin. It's going to be all hedge funds. So make sure when you get in, you're at the absolute best price, and find out what information on edge you have of a hedge funds. If not, and last point, please select the number of trades that you're going to do a year. Most of you guys should not be doing more than 8 per year.
This that Red Panda Anthem. Ian, what's up? This that Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem. Whole clip going up. I know they can't stand